Alright, so it's been 3 months since my last movie review. In that time, a lot of stuff has come out. A lot of stuff I liked, a lot of stuff worth discussing. So of course, now that I'm back, I'm going to be talking about Angel Has Fallen. Hey guys, this is Justin at the Survivor Review. Today I'm going to be talking about the third installment of the Has Fallen series, if that's what they're calling it, I don't know. Angel Has Fallen. Now, I do really enjoy this series. I reviewed the first two films, and I do really like them. They're great 90s throwback action movies, just really ridiculous, really over the top, really silly, but fun and entertaining. Mainly Olympus Has Fallen, which I really did enjoy. London Has Fallen was okay and kind of forgettable. In fact, I actually rewatched my review of it beforehand, so I can remember what I really thought about it, because I couldn't remember too much of it. But I did enjoy it. So I was actually looking forward to this one. Not like highly anticipated or anything, but I was looking forward to this one because I'm like, this should be a fun time, a good end of summer action movie. And yeah, it delivered. I actually thought this movie was a lot of fun. It was really entertaining. You know, like I said, not great, not Academy Award worthy or anything, but a really fun, entertaining action movie that I was like having a blast with the whole time. So in this movie, Morgan Freeman is now the president. He was like, I don't know, the Secretary of State or Vice President in the other movies. I don't want to remember. But now he's the full-on president. No more Aaron Eckhart's. And while on a fishing trip being protected by his team and of course Secret Service agent Mike Banning, they get attacked. And basically Mike Banning gets framed for this attack, and now he's on the run trying to clear his name and find out who framed him, while also trying to save the president, who is now in a coma, from eventually getting murdered by these people who are trying to kill him. What I do like about this movie is that it is scaled back from the first two. It doesn't try to be this big, like, epic movie that they clearly never have the budget for. You know, there's no, like, monuments being blown up, like in London Has Fallen, or even being destroyed, or kind of destroyed, I think, as in Olympus Has Fallen. There's none of that. And at first, it kind of threw me off, because this movie didn't really feel like the first two, actually. Because there's no, like, over-the-top terrorist bad guy who's, you know, involved in everything, who's behind everything. There's no like that. It's a lot of like double crosses between like American people and all that kind of stuff. So it actually feels kind of different. And at first I was like, okay, this feels a little off and doesn't feel right. But as the movie went on, I really liked that idea and I really liked that aspect. And the smaller scale at first makes you think this movie is like lower budget and cheaper. But it actually helps enhance the action sequences, because by making it smaller scale, the action sequences are able to be a lot more practical and a lot more engaging, actually. I thought this probably had the best action sequences out of all three of them, because they really felt grounded and real and gritty. Yeah, it does have, towards the end, that, you know, franchise staple of really bad CGI and really bad CGI, like, explosions and stuff, because there's one shot in this movie involving CGI smoke from the rubble of an explosion. That was awful. That shot looks terrible. But aside from that, the action sequences were a lot more grounded and like really worked. They had a really good sense of like realness to them. A lot of explosions. Like, they had a lot of explosions in this movie, but every time there was one, it was great. You know, it was really good. So I really like that aspect. Like, it might turn off some people who like the first two movies for being these big overblown movies with like these evil terrorists with their plans and all that kind of stuff, because it's not really that. It's a different type of movie, but I liked it. I thought it was a really good change of pace. I actually like how they try to do some interesting stuff with the Mike Banning character, because I like Gerard Butler. He's always entertaining as like an action hero, you know, and I always liked him in the first two. But they do a couple interesting things with this character in this movie, in that he's actually like suffering from stuff. Like the opening of the movie, you see him at like the doctor and he's like, oh yeah, you have insomnia, you have this problem, you have these like concussions, like you keep getting these headaches every like 5 minutes. Like, you're in really bad shape. And I like that aspect, to take like this action hero who's been through all this crazy stuff, and like, of course, after that he would be damaged. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. It didn't play into it too much, or he kind of gets forgotten about in the middle half of the movie when like the plot really kicks in. But I thought that was a really unique aspect that these type of movies don't usually delve into. And I thought that was fairly unique. I really like that. I like Morgan Freeman as the president. But I find it funny, though, that like his screen time was always limited in the first two. Like, he was just behind a chair the whole time reacting to what's going on. So in this movie, he's the president. So you think, oh man, he's a main character this time. But no, he's in a coma for the whole middle half of the movie. So even in a movie where he's actually a main focus of the plot, Yeah, he's still barely in it, you know? Well, I mean, he does appear near the end, but for the middle half, he's barely in it, which I found kind of funny. Honestly, the best part of this movie is Nick Nolte as Mike Banning's dad, who is great. It is very kind of cliche. There's a lot of cliche stuff where, like, you know, that he left and, like, kind of disowns them. There's a really cliched line where he calls him son, and Gerard Butler is just like, yo, you lost that right to call me that years ago. And you're like, ah, okay. But aside from that, I really liked his character. He was funny. Like, every time he was on screen, it was so entertaining. There's this action sequence when they're hiding out at his cabin, and of course the evil guys are coming to get them, and there's this great moment where he has these kind of booby traps set up, and there's one moment you can kind of call it a gag that kind of gets used over and over, but it's hilarious every time it happens. It's great. It's the best scene in the whole movie. But I really liked his character. I love all the stuff with him. He was a good addition to the series. And yeah, I thought he was like one of the best parts of the movie. He's probably my favorite character in the movie and has the best moments. You know, like the previous two movies, the plot of this movie it's silly. You know, it's silly, it's predictable. Like, there's some twists and turns with who's really behind everything. But, you know, if you're watching this scene early on and you go, I think that guy's the bad guy, you're right. It's really obvious from the start who the villain is. So the plot of this movie is not the strong suit. That's not why you go see these movies, you know? There is one thing though with the plot that legit kind of bugged me that I really didn't like. It's the fact that they tried to make this movie politically relevant. And if I recall correctly, they didn't really try that with the last two. Maybe they did, I don't really remember. But at least it wasn't as in your face as this one, because there's a lot of stuff with the plot of this movie involving Russia. So it really feels like they're trying to, like, you know, be relevant with today's political climates and stuff like that. I didn't feel that was necessary. Like, I didn't feel they needed to involve Russia. I feel like they could have just had any other country and the movie would have been fine. There's even, you know, like a offhand remark referencing, like, Russia's, like, involvement with, you know, the elections and stuff like that. It's like, you don't need that in this movie. You don't need that kind of stuff. That kind of annoyed me. But aside from that, you know, the plot was, like I said, cookie cutter, but it's fine. It mostly is there to service really fun, really ridiculous action scenes. Honestly, the movie wasn't as cheesy as the first two films were. At least I didn't think so. There weren't as many, like, cheesy one-liners and everything. This movie actually really played it straight. And that sounds like something you'd, like, you know, find an issue. It sounds like something you'd kind of complain about. But I actually didn't mind that. I actually thought it kind of helped the story. There's enough kind of ridiculous action in it to where I was okay. It didn't need the cheesy one-liners. There are a few things in this movie that don't quite make sense. Like, mild spoiler, like near the end when Morgan Freeman comes out of his coma, and he doesn't, like, immediately tell them that, like, Mike Banning was a good guy. Mike Banning tried to save him, you know, and he's being framed. Like, he doesn't immediately say that till after this whole elaborate sequence of Mike Banning trying to get to him. And it's like, why didn't you just lead with that? Why didn't you just wake up and be like, yeah, Mike Banning saved my life. I think he's a good guy. I think he's being framed. But that's a little weird. Also, Jada Pinkett Smith is in the movie. She plays this FBI agent who's investigating the case and is trying to figure out why Mike Banning did this, why he tried to murder the president and everything. And it kind of goes nowhere. Honestly, your character almost didn't need to be in the movie at all. Now, I know at the end of the movie, you find out that she found out this important information that gets revealed, but I feel like there's a lot simpler way they could have revealed that information without giving her this entire, like, subplot that in the end just kind of abruptly ends and doesn't really go anywhere. So I found that kind of weird. Like, I almost feel like she could have been taken out of the whole movie and they could have just changed the dialogue and how they found that information at the end, and the movie would have been, like, fine and been perfectly the same. So that was kind of weird. And for the most part, the action scenes are really well handled. There's a lot of good fight scenes, a lot of good, like, physical action. There is some shaky cam here and there that is a little annoying. The opening sequence, which is like this, like, training thing, mission thing that Mike Banning is on, was really badly shot and almost looked straight to video and really worried me. Like, when I started watching the movie, I'm like, oh no, this is how the movie's gonna be. But no, it wasn't like that. The action sequences got better as the movie progressed. There's a pretty neat car chase later on where he's in, like, a semi-truck, which is kind of unique because, like, you don't normally see chase scenes with, like, that truck and everything. But the action sequences are pretty cool, pretty solid, some good shootouts and everything. like I said, the movie does have its flaws, some logic gaps that don't make sense, some kind of unnecessary things. A by the numbers plot, that's the most predictable thing ever. Plot twist villain, that's the most predictable thing ever. You know, so some stuff doesn't quite work, but it's not really why you see the movie. Like, the stuff that really doesn't work is not why you'd be going to this movie, especially if you've seen the first two. Like I said, it's a little bit different than those kind of tone-wise. It takes itself a little bit more serious and, you know, isn't as big or overblown as the first two. But it actually works to this movie's advantage and makes the movie a little bit more engaging, which I really liked. It just makes for a fun time. I would have never guessed that Olympus Has Fallen would have spawned like a solid trilogy of movies. Like, I know, like I was saying, the second one's kind of forgettable, but it's not the worst thing. I would have never expected that, but, you know, I'm glad we got it. It's fun 90s throwback action movies that are entertaining. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Angel Has Fallen, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.